Enrichment of the thinking. Hello. Yesterday you did your first mixing. The most difficult thing was certainly to stay focused on thought while ignoring phosphenes. You may have had trouble thinking about the object because phosphene was very present. You were also able to observe a part of the hide and seek between phosphene and thought. In this case, you must limit yourself to observing the phenomenon without trying to force the thought. This is part of an adaptation phase to phosphene. After a bit of practice, you realize that thought and phosphene end up coexisting. If you have been able to follow the spontaneous flow of thought, you have seen that it is enriched with new elements. First, thoughts seem more present, even those that are unrelated to the original theme. Then the object tends to disappear, but it comes back to mind more often and quite spontaneously. Moreover, it is often much sharper and more accurate than when observed without phosphene. It can even give you the feeling of being closer to you. It may also be larger than its actual size. The details are more numerous and establish themselves. The object may always be perceived in a fragmented way, but the details are more important. Colors appear with greater precision and nuances. In addition, memories related to the object may come back without being searched for them. You can also have a movement around the object or a movement of the object itself, associated with a very precise perception of the object's environment. For example, the table or the piece of furniture on which it is located, or the room as a whole. All this corresponds to an enrichment of thought, an enrichment of ideation. And if the object does not come back to mind often, which sometimes happens, the thoughts that spontaneously impose themselves on consciousness are often much sharper than usual, so much so that you may have an impression of greater luminosity, mental images, and a very great feeling of the presence of these images or ideas, or of having yourself been very present in the perceived situation. It also happens that the object is replaced by concerns that are particularly important to us. We then realize that we do not have stray thoughts, and that all the thinking converges on this theme, which can provide a new perspective and new ideas. These are the different effects of mixing. The fact of having had a thought in mind during the presence of the phosphene amplifies all brain rhythms, which extraordinarily densifies the thought and gives it a very particular animation. It is this great intensity of thought that reveals much more details, which spontaneously increases sharpness and precision. Through phosphenic mixing, attention span and the number of associations of ideas are increased in considerable proportions. Some people seek to have deliberately precise and clear thinking from the start. It is very important to emphasize that it is not a question of seeing the object as it really is, but of keeping a memory of it, however vague. The simple fact of mixing this idea with phosphenes is more than enough to get all the benefits of mixing. It is therefore useless to try to see it physically or to see it in the phosphene. All you have to do is think that the experience is about remembering the chosen object. If you have not observed any difference between thinking mixed with phosphene and usual thinking, do not worry. Continue the following exercises and the accumulation of phosphene will make this densification of thought very noticeable. If you want, you can repeat this mixing experience. Tomorrow, you will go back to practice thanks to the final exercise. With my warmest encouragement to practice phosphenism.